Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a very special Trek After Dark. This is our Trek interview with Babylon 5 and Star Trek star Patricia Tallman, who I happen to know and have the privilege of having spent a little time with, breaking bread once in a while. And she's on the other side of the country, so let's bring her in now. Pat, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, it's so good to catch up with you.
It's my first live stream, by the way, Alex, so thank you.
Is it really? Oh,
yeah.
Well, good. Well, hopefully it'll be a good one. Well, hopefully you won't get abused in here. We can guarantee that. So, I see. It's so funny just looking at the fans in the comments section. I don't know most of these people, so I think you drafted them in. Okay, now some of ours are dribbling in.
Oh, awesome.
But so that it's great to see. Listen, it's so good to see you again, and catch up with you. It was wonderful. Everyone should know I met Pat through David Dean Buttrell, who's an actor, writer in Hollywood, who is putting on Sci-Fest, which was the science fiction one-act play festival, which ran 3 years, I believe.
Yeah,
3 years. And it was the most amazing, wonderful. Oh, David Wispy. There's David.
Yeah, speaking of Sci-Fest.
I know. How are you, David? David was in Sci-Fest also. And it was just wonderful. It was literally what it says. It was one act science fiction plays. Now, where are you going to find that? And David is, I met David. The one story I'll tell you is that I met David. He had contacted me because I guess this was before the lawsuit and after we had raised our second huge tranche of money, and he just wanted to talk about raising money and stuff. And he invited me out, and and we went to Mendocino Farms right there on Santa Monica, right around the corner. And so he was telling me about himself, and he said, oh, and I was an actor too. And I said, oh, anything I've seen you in? He said, I was in Boston Legal. I go, oh, where are you? Who are you? And he goes, Lincoln Meyer. And like the light went off in my head. And all of a sudden I'm sitting across the lunch table from Lincoln Meyer. And I'm like, oh my God, that's right. That's right. That was you. I love that show. And that character is one of the most wonderful comedic characers on TV.
He's such an amazing actor. And then he wrote this book, which is a must read for any actor. I have it on my bookshelf. And it's such a brilliant compilation of working the true poop and the artistry of being an actor. And then he combines it into, okay, here's how you do the business. Not too many people do that. Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow.
It's a great book. It's a great book for any actor.
I really wanted to take a class with him because he's one of those people, and I will say that they are not few before and far between in acting, because I tend to love actors.
Yeah.
And he is just the epitome of that. He's like this amazing actor, but he is the most wonderful, decent human being.
What I love about him is that he makes you feel so special. This is such a quality that, we a lot of the people I'm seeing in the chat over here, I mean, that's such a gift when you are able to make somebody else feel special and listened to and appreciated. I mean, it is a mutant power. That is, if you make people feel that good when you're in their presence, then you're going to have an amazing life. And he does that in spades, but I see other names over here and I know that they do it too.
I will say that Sci-Fest was just it was really a wonderful, special, amazing thing that he brought me into, and I tried to help him out, because
I'm sure you did.
I'm the left side. I'm the left brain person. Like all you actors are all right brain people, right?
Yeah.
So he's dragging this left brain. I know he was trying to drag me in because I had a left brain and not much of a right brain. And it's which is funny because, by the way, I'll never forget, that was like one of the first things Howard Fine ever said to me in front of the entire class. He said, at my first acting class, and he was, introduction to acting, and he said to me, Alec, you live in your left brain and I need you to live in your right brain. And I knew it was going to be a long, hard slog at that point.
It's a very brave thing to do, to when you're a creative human being, to really live there and to be vulnerable enough. You know, actors get made fun of because they are playful and childlike, and we have to be to do our job. And then we get in trouble because you're playful and childlike life. You know, you're just, it's tough. It's tough being in the world and being that vulnerable all the time.
But what's one of the things I appreciate so much about actors? I just, you know, I've gotten to spend a lot of time with J.G. Hertzler, and he's just, so I just love seeing people, because, you know, I've been an entrepreneur, I've been in business and this and that, and you meet a lot of people who are like you, and then you get into this world and it's so different. Yeah. So here's Ron B, who's one of our regulars, and he's sending us a $3 super chat and says, Patricia, ! Love me some beef.
Look what you can do with these live feeds. This is amazing.
Oh, I'll teach you how to do this so you can start doing your own.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah, this is well, we're going to talk about it with you. So let's get into it, because I you know, before, I love it. You know, one of the things for prep I always do when I'm talking to an actor is go into your IMDb. And so I go into your IMDb, and I was like, oh, all these things she's done stunts for, because I know you're a stunt woman too. But we really, that so much of that is uncredited, right? But we really know you for your acting. But I look at I just go back in your acting, and I go back to your very first feature film role, which was what? Night Riders with Ed Harris.
Yes.
Oh my God! And Tom Savini.
Can you imagine working with Ed Harris?
When he had a hair.
Crazy. He had hair. He was so young. He was so amazing. I used to go to the set even when I wasn't working, just to watch him work.
Really?
Because he was such a force of nature, and you could just feel it when you're in his presence. He was just so spontaneous, and it felt very dangerous because you never knew what he was going to do.
Really?
But he was very kind. He was generous as an actor, you know. But I was always kind of just like, oh, holy fuck, what's he going to do next? It was so amazing.
Really?
To be my first experience in front of a camera, to have George Romero as my director, and then Ed Harris as our star. You know, I was like, oh, wow. Now, what's happening?
Now
it's cool.
Before that, he had just done some TV. He, you know, this was a couple years before The Right Stuff, which really made him. So
I think he did another movie that I can't remember, Alec. It was not a big movie, though. You're right. He had done some small things, maybe something. I can't remember.
He was in Coma, the original Coma. Okay. So, well, that's great. So tell me, okay, so you get into acting now. Did you get into stunt work first, or did you get into acting first?
No, I went to school for acting. I started acting professionally at 15. And started in the theater, and then I went to school for theater at Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh.
Oh, sure.
And then I was in New York City and was acting, and was there for about 10 years by the time I actually started doing stunts.
Gotcha. Yeah. And how did you get into stunt work?
I fell into it.
Oh.
I know. Sorry.
Because I've never heard that one before.
I know, right? I'm so dumb. I met stunt people. I was taking period sword technique classes.
Wow.
Right? I took dance classes, and I loved dancing, but I also loved sword work, and I just took them as a hobby. And I met a lot of
that's interesting.
Stunt people. Yeah, it was fun. It was super fun, and I met a lot of stunt people in that class. I didn't even really have a fix on stunts being a career. You know, that was so remote to my experience. I was a theater nerd. And one day one of the guys came up to me and he said, you know, I'm stunt coordinator on this show. I need a stunt double for this actress. She's 5'9" with red hair, your size. Would you do it? And I was like, sure. I mean, I was making like, you know, $500 a month at Macy's in the little girls department. I was thrilled, you know? So yeah, and I just started apprenticing basically with these stunt people, learning the trade.
Wow. And okay, so and then you wound up you went. So as your stunt work starts picking up, then your acting work starts picking up at the same time.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I decided to move to Los Angeles for acting purposes, because a lot of the movies I was finally auditioning for in New York at that time, back in the 80s, the late 80s, New York still didn't have as flourishing a film industry as they do now.
Right.
And so if I wanted to break into film, I was going to need to be in LA. And and just that happened right around the same time as I started meeting some Los Angeles stunt people. I worked on a movie called Creepshow 2, another George Romero.
Gotcha.
And I was doing stunts for him at this time. And I met a bunch of Los Angeles stunt people. And they said, yeah, when you come out to LA, call me and we'll see how you do. We'll start putting you through the paces. So I just did. And that helped me a lot because I had work. I had work. I arrived in LA and I had work.
Now, what made you make the move? So move to LA. So
I wanted to do more than I was getting. I'd be auditioning for films that were already cast. Like they had cast in Los Angeles, and then they would cast little ancillary parts on the East Coast, and it just wasn't what I wanted. So I thought, yeah, I need to build up a career. I was auditioning against women who had really great TV credits too, and the TV industry hadn't really kicked up in New York. So I thought, I need to get my resume to get more sexy for Hollywood, for them to want to, trust me with a bigger role.
Right.
So that's what I did. And ironically, it was out here in Los Angeles, where I still live today, that I auditioned for Night of the Living Dead, which was my first big movie where I was the lead.
You had a big part.
Yeah, I was so blessed. I got to carry the film. I was
And so in that film, was this because you had worked with Romero before? He knew you?
Tom Savini knew me. Yes, certainly George knew, but George was stepped back because he was just producing. He wrote it. He wrote the new script, and then he was stepping back as producer, and he was working on something else. So Tom Savini was casting it, and he really he saw me as being able to be Barbara, who starts off as meek and mild and turns into more of a badass.
Yes,
right,
exactly.
And so he'd seen me at Carnegie Mellon, and he thought, no, Patty Tallman could totally do this part. And so he thought I could be a great nerd in the beginning, and then I could fix it.
And you'd worked with him in Night Riders.
Yes, exactly.
So what year did you move out to LA?
88.
Oh, same year I moved out.
What? That's weird.
Well, I left. Yeah, I graduated from law school in 87 and passed the bar in North Carolina, and then moved out. And I coached at USC for 4 years.
Wow. Okay.
That was my first. So then my first trip to LA was my first move for 10 years was coaching.
Wow.
And it was. Cool. Well, I'll tell you the one big thing. I was there from 88 to 08, and then I moved to Atlanta, and then in 88 to 98. And then I was here for 10 years in Atlanta. And then I moved back in 08. And I'll never forget the first month I was back in LA, I was down in Newport Beach. I was driving to LA one day, and I'm driving up the 5 freeway. And I looked to my right and I go, there are mountains over there. I said, I don't remember there being mountains over there. Because in that 10 years, just with Schwarzenegger being governor and the total focus on the environment and cleaning up the air, the pollution in Southern California had almost disappeared.
We finally got that technology. The technology was there, and the lower emissions gas. The cars caught up. Yeah, it was great. It's easy to rag on LA, but I do love it here.
Oh yeah, I love all of Southern. I love California as a state, top to bottom. It's an amazing state. It truly is amazing. So, so you're in LA. Where were you living when you first moved to LA?
Studio City.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was so blessed because I have friends. But going to Carnegie Mellon University, I had this network of friends, and some of them were already out here. And one of my best friends hooked me up with a good friend of hers, and we became roommates. And so I waltzed right into an apartment in Studio City. I mean, I was really blessed. Really
Now,
blessed.
and for everyone out there who doesn't live in Southern California, Studio City is like the little TV community, people who work in the industry. It's right over the hill from Hollywood. So it's practically the first little town besides Toluca Lake, which is where I had lived.
I love Toluca Lake.
Isn't Toluca Lake great? Anyway,
so great.
Toluca Lake Studio City, it's right over the hill. So it's very easy for, if you're working in the industry, to just jump over into Hollywood and but you're living in the valley. So you're not paying the prices of living in Hollywood.
And I had lived in New York City, in the Upper West Side, the Lower East Side. I lived all over the place. So I'd done the city thing, and it was nice to be in a little more, the scale of Studio City was very doable. And everybody had to have a car, which of course was brand new to me.
Oh, yes, of course.
I got a VW Bug, and I loved it. I tooled around in that Bug, got myself a Thomas guide, got all over town.
another thing for you non-Californians, before there was GPS on your phone, you didn't have a cell phone, there was a book, and it was called a Thomas guide. And so literally it was exactly, if you had the LA and Orange County versions, right? If you had the combined one. So basically, the Thomas guide took a map of Los Angeles and gridded the whole thing. And then every grid was a page in the book. So it's like 100
pages.
Oh, yeah.
So it really broke it down. It's fantastic.
It really broke it down. And so there's every sheet. Yeah. And in the back of the book is a directory of every street in LA. So you alphabetically. So someone says, I'm at 123.
And with numbers.
Right. So you would go to the back, go Bush Street, here is page
34 Bush Street. Yeah.
Right. You go, oh, it's on this page. You turn to that page, and it would give you the grid coordinates. It'd be like A4. So you go A4, and there it is. And you had to figure out how to get there. Yeah. But you had to figure out, but it showed you exactly where it was. And so you learned to drive, right? With one like this.
I'm so good at
flipping it, right? The other hand driving.
I really learned Los Angeles that way. I get, and you had to figure it out with your head and the page and the map. It wasn't like, and I learned to tell directions from where the mountains were.
Sure.
So I had a friend who lived here kind of tell me, okay, so that's north, because you could see that's the Santa Monica Mountains there, and back there, those are the San Gabriels. So that's south. And so, like working me, giving me the directions, and because the freeway signs are a nightmare. they change direction, and they call them, now it's the Hollywood freeway. No, it's the 101. No, it's the Ventura freeway. What the hell? Where am I? It's nuts. But it was a great training ground to learn the city that way. And because we had only pagers, I feel like my grandma, we didn't have cell phones, we only had pagers. And we had to know where all the phone booths were. So if your agent paged you, you got your ass to a phone booth. You're calling your agent so that you could get where you needed to go next.
You get a roll of quarters or dimes. By that time, they were quarters.
And oh my God, it was crazy. And then I had a service called Joni's, which was just for stunt people. And with stunt people, it was very competitive. If they paged you, it was for a job, and that whoever called in first got the job.
Wow.
Oh my God, it was dog eat dog. It was crazy.
I bet it was so funny. There was. One of the security questions on some website or something I was just joining asked me, like, the security question was, what was the make and model of your first car? Okay, that's easy. The second question, what was the make and model of your first cell phone? And I'm thinking, oh, well, I had one of those big Motorola flip phones with a big ass battery. But I don't remember, I didn't remember what the model was, but I just remember lugging around one of those huge things. So it's so funny. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say, B. Winst is a huge fan of yours. He says, what magic do you work to never age, Pat?
Oh my God. Lots of red wine and coffee. No, I have aged, and you're being very sweet, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Mwah.
B. Winst, you scored major points with Pat.
You certainly did. I have a quick story about huge, massive cell phones. That I was working on a film called Army of Darkness with Bruce Campbell. And I knew Bruce because he married a sorority sister of mine from Carnegie Mellon. And I kind of got to watch he and Sam Raimi create the Evil Dead series out of, pulling just these crazy, how do you do, back in those days, that was hard. So watching them do that was pretty amazing. And then Bruce would, I got on a couple projects with Bruce, which is great. And I was doing Army of Darkness, and I had to do this monster scene, and he shoots me like 17 times. That's the end of my life as that witch. Was he shot me with a shotgun, bam, 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 and he's like flipping the shotgun back over his shoulder, And by the time we get to the last blast, they said, Patty, Sam is just going, just this is your big climactic, just make it an amazing death. I was so exhausted. I'd been in this horrendous makeup. It took 4 hours to put on, plus these huge contact lenses they jammed in my face. They were the size of DVDs. And I couldn't see a thing, and I'm covered with squibs and blood and sweat. I haven't been able to pee. I'm just miserable. I really was a hag at that moment. And I couldn't do anything. So all I did was, when he shot me the last time, I staggered for a minute, and then I fell forward on my face, just bam, like And then the evening ends, and it took him another 3.5 hours to get me out of that makeup, and I go home and I was a wreck, But Sam and Bruce called me. I got a message on my tape machine back in the days, the answering machine tape. And it was Sam and Bruce from their cell phone, which was the size of a shoebox.
Yeah, right. It was,
in those days, I was so impressed because Bruce had this huge cell phone, and they called and they left me a message saying, "You're our favorite monster ever." I know, it was so sweet.
That's awesome. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That is great.
I wish I could have saved that message. I wish I could have.
Okay.
Meant a lot.
So you, I'm sure, listen, I know, right? Because I haven't, my limited acting ability, I have not had to go through that, but I listen to the stories of these people who go through these prosthetics, and, it's like a 3 hour to get into makeup, and then 3 hours and I'm like, that's 6 hours of your day.
And that.
Yeah, and then you're uncomfortable all day long, and I'm like, and this is something I'd love your feedback on. I think one of the great things about now, especially since streaming is so popular and we have access to everything. I mean, I was one of those geeks who would take out the Blu-rays and watch every single featurette on a Blu-ray because I want to know everything that was happening behind the scenes. Sure. And now it's, you have the after shows like Talking Dead, right? Or the Ready Room for Star Trek, for Picard, and they interview everyone. So there's so much behind the scenes that's accessible. And I really think what that, I hope, does is it enlightens all of the viewers of all the shows to what an amazing process filmmaking is. Because it really is. People don't appreciate the work, and it's so easy to dismiss, something as, oh, well, that's, oh, God, I had to eat that guy. That guy sucks who makes Star Trek or whatever they, right. Oh, J.J. Abrams ruined Star Wars or whatever. And it's so easy to say that, but you don't realize how much blood, sweat, and tears you people, all of you, whether you're actor, stunt person, makeup person, prop person, director, whatever, it's enormous work.
It's enormous work. It is. And it takes a village, literally hundreds of people, to pull this off. Just to even get a production to the point of shooting is the stories just of that going through the studio system or raising the money, getting the backers, getting the distribution going. It just that. And then they finally get to the point where they're shooting it. And you're winning the lottery there, just that. Plus then, whether or not your pilot makes it to on screen, right? Or gets picked up for series, it's nuts. Plus then the work you go through on the set, it's a beautiful thing. And we all do it because of the end result. We do it because of the magic you hope you're making. And I think there's been so many wonderful shows that it's easy to compare to these wonderful shows. You have no idea how hard it is to recreate the chemistry of that cast and those writers and those producers and all the love that went in the design of it, that we never know how it's going to gel and that it's going to become a cult classic, or it's going to become a show that stays on TV. You never know, ever. And I cannot emphasize that enough, because every show I've done that has ended up being like a cult classic or a successful, we had no bloody idea, none. And there were moments where just, you know, because you're in front of a live audience like theater, which was what I got in the business to do, you're in a vacuum. You have no idea how people are taking this, especially back in the early days when our internet was just a baby internet, little tiny forums that were, you know, really labor intensive to get into and to read threads and forever.
Right. The feedback's a lot more instantaneous these days.
It is better. It's better and better. And I think that I kind of had the opposite feeling around all the behind the scenes stuff, in that I felt like it was giving away so much of the magic. Do you know what I mean? Like all the tricks of the trade and all the behind the scenes stories, and you're hearing like you're hearing all the bad stuff as well as some good stuff, but I don't know. I was hoping that it didn't, especially with Stunt Work. I was hoping that it didn't take away the magic of how it was really made.
I don't think it does. I'll tell you. Now, this is just me, but I can watch all this behind the scenes features, and still, once you start watching something, if it's good, you're lost.
Oh, that's true.
Totally
you are so right about that.
Right? I mean,
you're right.
I can see all the different things, about makeup or whatever, and then you could show me a million things about what Mira Furlan went through for the skull makeup in Babylon 5, but the next time I watch Babylon 5, I can't. That doesn't enter my head,
right.
Because especially Babylon 5, because it's so brilliant, you're so engrossed in it. So
sure.
All right, let's talk about Babylon 5, because everyone wants to hear your stories about Babylon 5.
Sure.
Because that is, listen, I always, since I talk a lot about things, I talk about science fiction shows. And I always say, look, for me, there's my three favorite science fiction shows are Battlestar Galactica, the new one, which is just, sure. I still think it's the best science fiction show of all time. But although it's a tough one to watch a second time because it's really heavy. But the two ones that, if I had to go to a desert island, I wouldn't be taking Battlestar Galactica. I'd take Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Babylon 5. Those are my two favorites. And cool. For very different reasons. But the one thing that's consistent between the two shows is the quality of the writing was just freaking brilliant. Right. And Babylon 5, though, you guys overachieved. Like, I have a coaching background. Like, I always want to see Coach of the Year go to the guy that took the last place team and wound up in the middle of the pack. I don't care about the guy that won the championship. And that's the way I feel about Babylon 5. It's like, you guys had nothing and you made genius. It was genius.
You should have seen the sets behind this, what the sets were really made of.
John Iacovelli worked with Axanar for a while. So he told me all the stories. Iacovelli told me all the stories. And,
Yes, so it's just amazing how creative and how lighting will change everything. This is what we're talking about. It takes a village to make these shows, because that you can have a beautiful set be ruined by crappy lighting. You can have a wonderful story be distracted by terrible costumes. If it doesn't all come together, it's just a magic. It's a magic. And they hired a lot of people on Babylon 5 that they had no idea how it was all going to go. They hired a lot of theater people. Our wardrobe designer, John Iacovelli, theater. Actors, Andreas Katsoulis, Mira Furlan, Michael O'Hare. My background was mostly theater, so it was a big risk they took, but they were going by a lot of really good instincts, I think, in a way. But I think we're also fortunate. There's just sometimes good fortune that happens.
Well, yeah. And, it was really interesting when we started building our studio in LA. The first thing we did was Curtis Lassiter, who is the construction coordinator on B5, took us to your old studio and said, that's what we took a warehouse and we converted it to a soundstage. Yeah. That's what he did for us. But yeah, he took us down there and was like, oh, okay, well, that's pretty humble beginnings for B5.
And we stayed there the whole time.
That's right. And Iacovelli told me that like every set wall was on both sides, so they could just flip it around.
Right.
He told me those things. So, you had a distinct, distinct good luck in working with some amazing people on that show. Even the guest stars that you guys had.
Crazy.
You came in season 2, is that right?
No, I was in the pilot, and then I have a very typical Hollywood story. I wasn't in the first season, came back in the second season. So I was in the pilot.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And then were you in Crusade as well? No, you weren't in Crusade. So you went through tell us, of all the actors that you worked with on B5, who is your favorite and why?
Wow, I don't actually know that I've been asked that before. Do you mean out of the regulars, or do you mean out of the?
Let's start with the regulars. Out of all the regulars,
my God,
who do you like working with the best?
They were. I was, again, so bloody fortunate. My storyline only intersected with some of the stars, right? Some of the main cast, because my character is kind of an outcast. But I loved working with Andreas Katsoulis. I only had 2 major scenes with him, one at the very beginning, one at the very end, but it was a blast. And I worked with Claudia Christian a fair amount, which we had to be separated because we would get the giggles. We were troublemakers, and we're still troublemakers. So it was, but I loved working with her. But I think maybe Rick Biggs, who's passed away now, as well as Andreas, and Jeff Conaway was very special to me. So they were both. We worked in similar ways. We had sort of the same technique. Rick Biggs and I would meet at his condo, and his fiance at the time, they got married. His fiance would take care of my kid while Rick and I rehearsed and played doctor and telepath in space. We'd work our lives, come up with ideas. But he, so he would do that with me. A lot of the other actors are like, nope, you show up on the day and you just hit your mark and say your line, which is Spencer Tracy, But I loved that Rick was willing to do that with me. It was great. I went to the set though when Brad Dourif was there, just to meet him, because I wasn't in any scenes with him, but I had to meet him. I was just like, oh my God, Brad Dourif!
such an amazing genre actor. He's had such memorable roles. Right?
And Deadwood, he's brilliant in Deadwood. I was devastated when that got canceled.
He was brilliant in Star Trek Voyager. He had a fascinating part in Star Trek Voyager. Anyway, JP Matthews says, who's from Canada, he's giving you us $5 Canadian. How was it to pick up the story arc from Andrea Thompson when she left? You fit in so seamlessly. Lita is still the best part of the show.
Oh, thank you so much. I was fortunate because my character had that whole movie, The Gathering, the pilot. It was a 2-hour pilot. So I had a solid story already going, and then I had a really fascinating story that Joe had written, the backstory why I was returning. So that's all Joe. That's writing. That's not me.
How was it working with Joe?
His writing is amazing. He would show up. He was very accessible. He would show up in the afternoon because he worked all night practically. He worked at night. And then he would show up sometime after lunch. He'd usually get there around lunch, depending on when lunch was for us. And you could go and say, I don't understand this, or I disagree with this, or I need a little more explanation on this, something like anything you needed, he was there to answer. So it was very accessible, which if you have ever worked on the Paramount lot on any of the Star Trek shows, you know how completely unique that is, because the suits are in a different building. You have to make appointments. People get very nervous if the suits are around. They weren't terribly warm and fuzzy. And our producers, no, they were suits, but our suits were right there with us and part of the team. They ate lunch with us every day. So people could give them shit. People could make fun of them. We often did, right to their face, so everybody was pretty down to earth. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yacovelli at one point took me to meet John Copeland.
Sure.
And wow, what a nice guy. Now he is, as I jokingly said, he's raising olives up in Santa Barbara. He has an olive farm.
He's always been an outdoorsy guy.
Yeah.
He had horses when he's always lived in a ranchy part of Los Angeles. And yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So it was super nice. It was just, we went up there and just to meet him, and he gave us, insight and feedback on being a producer. And he was just a lovely guy.
That was a very nice thing to do. That's very cool.
Yacovelli was great.
Yacovelli is amazing.
You ever been to his house over in Glendale?
I don't think I have, but I know that he's told me about it.
Oh, it's
props.
It is. First of all, the street he lives on is like from the 30s or something, right? And every house is identical. However, they're all done in a different style. Now, and you talk about styles. We're not talking like, oh, well, this is craftsman. No, we're talking like Egyptian, Chinese, Arabian. Yes, the street is crazy. You go down the street and every house is like, wow, that's weird. But right. Wow. So he lives in one of these houses, and then, his sense of style is just throughout that. And he's like, oh, that's the sofa from Sheridan's office or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, and that's from, he's got red drapes and artwork, and just, that's just fantastic. It's amazing. I went to his Halloween party his Christmas party once. Yeah. And he's brilliant. I love that guy, So, okay. So, give us, like, of all the things from Babylon 5. Oh, well, let's catch up on there's a couple super chats here, and I don't want to miss them, since people, what
are they? They're super chat.
It's called a super chat.
Oh,
they're giving us money. So here's Stanislav Kogan from Canada. How could you take those horrible contact lenses? Would you say this was the worst makeup you had to wear?
Clearly, absolutely. That was a nightmare. So Joe told me, he took, whenever I got a call, you got called into Joe's office to be like, oh, am I getting sucked out an airlock the next episode? What's going to happen? And he said, I've written this, when you get possessed by the Vorlons, your eyes are going to go black. And special effects said they have to have that be contact lenses to cover, because they can't do that in post. It'll cost too much money. Is that okay? And I was like, well, I tried to wear contact lenses before, and I have what's called blepharitis. It's a dry eye thing. I said, so I guess if they just, give me eye drops, I should be okay. I can wear them for a little short period. He said, oh yes, it's just for one scene.
Sure,
meanwhile, like 2 seasons later, they were so big because they had to cover the inner and outer corners of my eye. They're full circle, and they were not made for me, because Babylon 5 wouldn't pay for that. They jammed these DVDs into my face. And John Flynn, our director of photography, would hate it, because he had like 10 seconds before tears would come flying out of my face. I had no control over it. It was just like my eyes would go, no! So we had this little wee window to get those lines in.
It was
like, but they kept writing it in.
Oh, well, they loved it so much. Gosh. What is up with this Canadians? All the Canadians are super chatting us today.
I love Canadians.
Midnight Visions. Hi, Pat. Thanks for all your work you did chronicling the B5 background.
Well, thank you. And in my book, you mean, in Pleasure Thresholds? I wrote a book.
Your book. Yeah, tell us about your book.
Well, it's in the second printing. Thank you for asking. I wrote it in 2011. It started off as just all these photos that I had taken. Joe Straczynski had his script books printed by B5 Books, and they came to him saying, we'd like something a little more with more pictures. And he said, oh my God, call Tallman. She was such a pain in the ass with her camera. I had my camera on set all the time, and it wasn't, in those days, you could take as many pictures as you wanted. So I had hundreds and hundreds of photos. So their editor came over, who's now one of my dear friends, Jason Davis, and we went through photos. We made kind of a scrapbook out of him, and I would he just said, you just have to caption them, because I was like, I'm not writing a fucking book, but I'll give you the pictures. It's fine. He said, no, let's caption them. All right, caption them. All right. And then he said, you got to tell us more about that. You can't just say, hey, that's Rick on a bad day. You got to say why it was a bad day, you know?
Yeah.
I know it.
Eventually you're writing a whole book.
360 pages. I'm like, what? You guys tricked me.
Yeah. Rock soup.
So I added new material, you know, because lots happened since 2011 when we first published it, and we added some new photos, blah, blah, blah. There's been a couple of B5 reunions. We've lost a couple of our loved, dearest people. You know, Stephen First and Jeff Conaway passed away. Jerry Doyle passed away. So we did some updates on the book, and we re-released it. And I think Liz had said she was going to post links and to give you guys, if you are interested. I just did a special and sold out of those, but we're going to be doing just the book in a new and that is coming next. So if you go to questretreats.com, there's something that says pleasure thresholds, and you can put your name in there, and I'll contact you when the next release is coming.
There you go, everyone. Pleasure.
Sorry for the commercial.
No, that's good. That's what we're here for. That's what absolutely. By the way, I'm going to take the time to say I'm just looking at YouTube, and there's 176 people watching on YouTube, but only 96 thumbs up. That means there are 80 something slackers out there. So look, if you're watching on YouTube, take that mouse and scroll over to that thumbs up and click. It's real easy. It'll take like 1 calorie. And you'll be able to do it.
That'd be really nice of you. That'd be so nice of you guys. And the book is fun, and I'm going to post some excerpts on my Facebook page. But it's about those years on Babylon 5, and then all the other things I was doing in between. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because that's when I was doing all the Star Trek stuff. Because I was on the set of Babylon 5 one day, and the next day I'd be doubling Terry Farrell, or I'd be doubling a guest star on Next Generation.
Awesome. Wow.
And I wouldn't talk to anybody about this, because my producers wouldn't have been happy on Babylon 5. And the producers I never saw the producers over at Paramount, except one day I was in full regalia as Dax, Terry Farrell's character. And we were doing some fight scenes. As she was in that romance with Worf, and that she was learning to fight with a Batclef. And I'm at craft service having a coffee, and I won't name which producer came over, kind of looking around. He's looking around. I'm like, what's going on with this? And he comes up to me and he goes, I love you on Babylon 5. And then he disappeared. And how did he even know I was on Babylon 5? That was crazy, you know. That's
drive-by commenting. That's awesome.
Drive-by thumbs up, you know.
That is awesome. It
was super fun.
Oh, well, look at that. Just a little prodding, and we're already up to 148 thumbs up.
Oh,
there you go,
you
people.
Guys. Are you the best?
Thank you all. We appreciate it. Okay, let's get to some super chats. Scott Voigt, one of our volunteers, our transportation coordinator. Scott says, evening, Pat. Thanks for coming on. So tell us about your book, Pleasure Thresholds, and how we can get it. Secondly, tell us about the tours that you do and host. They look amazing. Okay, so.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for asking. Well, I think I answered the question.
Yeah, right. So we'll have all that information down in the description as well. And Lisa is posting it here.
Oh, thank you so much for that.
So tell us about Quest Tours.
So, not to get too heavy, but I love being real, and so being an older woman in Hollywood really.
How would you know what that's like? Come on, be real.
It really is tough, and I mean, even just leaving Babylon 5 at the end of the 90s, I was already in my 40s, and that was tough. So it was really hard to feel, what's the word? To feel kind of respected, I think is part of the word. Respected for all the work you've already done. I've been working in the industry since I was 15. You know, you'd like to have a little bit of gravitas, you know, appreciation for that, right? So, and it wasn't happening. So I had a little kid at the time. I was a single mom, and I kept trying things. to bring in money and to make things work. And my first thing was helping actors market themselves, and I really loved doing that. And then I went through a series of unfortunate events. A little bit of this is mentioned in my book, and I had a nervous breakdown. I had a full-on just breakdown, and I lost it for about a month. I couldn't even talk. I couldn't eat. I lost 20 pounds in a month. I couldn't sleep, and it was a long slog back. But one of the things unfortunately, it was necessary. I'll admit to that. I was doing a lot of things I shouldn't have been doing. I was pushing myself in directions. I wasn't listening to my instinct, to the force. The universe was talking to me. I wasn't listening. It's like, oh, really hate this to you, Pat, but here you go.
Universe has a way of making you listen.
It does, and that happened to me. So finally, I started listening. I started crawling around in the pit, this pit that I was in. And I was listening to a lot of life coaches. Martha Beck is my life coach, and she's been a mentor to me for a long time. And I was listening to people who are entrepreneurial and how they recreated themselves. And a lot of that has to do with this personal growth, listening to your instincts. What were you good at as a child? What do you love? And what are some of your assets? I was broke and desperate and scared. So it was really hard to kind of open up to my creativity at that point. But one of my assets is you guys, all of you that show up. You are my fans. Ooh, making me cry. I'm so grateful to you. Oh, so grateful to you. My asset being my mailing list, right? My Facebook following, right. You guys.
Right.
And one of the things I love to do is travel and explore. I'm a fearless explorer. I just love, I love all the books and movies that we love. I love getting lost in the fantasy. love getting lost in Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings and Doctor Who and Star Trek. I'm an uber fan. Love this stuff. So I thought, what do I do with that? I have this great love and appreciation. I have these wonderful fans. I love to travel. So creating this Venn diagram of what I love to do. And actually, Alec, that's when I was doing Sci-Fest. I got back on my feet. David Dean Bottrell was so kind, casting me in that. And that helped me kind of breathe and open up and start to heal. And what was coming forth and what I was daring to believe was that I had the chops to create my own business. I always think everybody can. But one of the things that came out of that for me was I had several incarnations to get there, but it was that I want to bring magic back for everybody. I want to give us experiences where we can immerse ourselves and start to find that magic again. As grown-ups, we've had to shuffle all that off to the side a lot of the time. We don't get to bathe in that, the beauty of our imaginations. No. We have to take responsibility. We've got these bills to pay. We have a pandemic. We've got politics are crazy. Everything's so scary. How do you take the time to get back into your heart and start to feel magic? So that's my mission. And it's finding ways to do that. My favorite way is to take people on adventures. I hope
that's
this is
awesome.
But I want to take you on adventures, and it's not just, I just don't guide you through all the hot spots in Hawaii or, in New Zealand. No. We have to get into it. We're going to
okay.
And I don't want to give away all my secrets, but I do try to make it very magical.
We need to do something together then, because here's why. Because we're going to have a shoot in Los Angeles for Axanar, which we were supposed to do next month, but obviously that's not happening. Oh. So it's the last actual shoot before we've done about 2/3 of the production is shot already, so of the live action. So we have a bunch of actors in LA, and so we need to do that. But what I wanted to do for all the fans was like, we need to do a day where we go to Vasquez Rocks, we go to Tillman Japanese Gardens, all the Star Trek places. Maybe we can get a tour of Paramount, whatever. That's what we need to, and maybe it's a weekend. I don't know, but you need to do that with us because you're the one. You're the one. That would be great.
Okay.
Yeah, you're the one. And and so that would be a blast because you do it so well. Okay, we're going to talk about that offline. Let's get back some more super chats because people love you. Look at this. Jay Johnson, $10. Oh, thank God, an American. No, I'm just kidding. Not Canadian. USF Air Force spouse. Pat, you and the B5 crew were always an inspiration to me. Thank you for all you do. That's so sweet. Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Alvin Cura.
Hi, Alvin. Hi, Alvin. Yes, I remember.
Is this a friend of yours? Okay.
We had a really good chat a few years back.
We had a hangout a few years back. You may not remember, but she remembers. But we had a wonderful conversation about your heart for helping others. Sending you much love. I hope one day I can join one of your retreats.
I hope so too.
We hope you can too. That's so nice of you. Thank you so much. I think.
Thanks for remembering.
I think that. I think we're caught up now. We're caught up.
That's so great.
Yeah, and there's a little thank you from Lissa, our producer.
Hi, Lissa.
Thanking all the super chatters there. So, B5 has curiously suffered, an unreal amount of deaths of its actors, which is such a tragedy. So such great actors. Andreas is, listen, I always say everyone who listens to our show knows that I think the two greatest science fiction characters of all time are Jakar and Londo. Joe hit it out of the park. I mean, that was just both those characters. I can watch that show over and over just for the interactions between those two.
Oh my God. And that's it. That's kind of what I was saying is you don't know because those two guys loved each other in real life.
Really?
Oh, they loved it. Everybody got along great. We still hang out, but they loved working together so much. So it's like, how do you know that's going to happen? You can't plan that shit. That's just the magic of it. That's when you are so fortunate that this chemistry happens, and they had amazing chemistry.
Oh,
and then
God.
Joe would just write to it too. Joe could see it, and that's one of his gifts is he could just see it and write to it.
Yeah. Now, well, the wonderful thing is, I think they're the two greatest science fiction characters because they go through so much and so much change. And Jakar's your classic redemption story, and Londo's a Greek tragedy, right?
Yes.
And then so they're beautifully written, and then just amazingly acted. It just I know. I think. Listen, I know Andreas's career a little bit. I know Peter's career. Those two guys careered in Babylon 5. I mean, they just, it's amazing. By the way, we have another who says, "Lita, we love you always." SCC 2004, who's from Europe because they're sending us €5.
I love it.
So thank you. And then we got Edward Cox Jr.
Edward, hey.
Please do that. I assume he means the tour. Pat's got what it takes to make that exceptional. Let me know if I can support that as well. We will, Edward. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. So we're talking about all the passings. What I think it does is it brings out in fans an understanding of how, and here Cosmac Grandpa says it. He makes when Richard Biggs passed at age 44, that made me rethink my own mortality. Yeah, I think it does. I think we as fans, it shocks us out of our love for the project and go, wow, these are real people and we're losing them.
Yeah.
And so it's a shame because as Stephen first took me aback too, I was like, oh my gosh. And
he was so quiet about how really ill he was. He did. I knew Stephen for many, many years. He struggled with many things and he never complained. I never heard him complain, and he never said a bad word about anyone, ever.
Really?
Who can do that? I mean, everyone has said a snarky thing about somebody sometime, and most of the time they probably deserved it, but he never did. Even when people deserved it, he just never. I mean, he was the most amazing man.
Wright Sublette, one of our volunteers, sends us $4.99.
Hey, right.
I hope to do one of your tours one day, Patricia. I'm a photographer too, and I love to travel. He's a great guy. We love Wright. He does some amazing work. And J-Fum, one of our regulars, Lita as a live action Shakti. What is that? I don't know what that is, J-Fum. You need to explain that.
Sounds familiar. It's not
explain that in the comments, and we'll take it from there. By the way, we were talking beforehand. Pat and I were talking about Ted Bernetti, one of my acting coaches, who Ted's brother from school. Is that right?
That's right. College. Yep.
Gotcha. And we had to do in the last class I took with Ted, which was, I guess, 2017. We had to bring in a piece for, I forgot what the task was, but you had to find a piece that you want to do a little monologue. And I brought in Stephen First from the last episode of B5. It's such a wonderful piece.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Oh my God. It sends shivers up my spine whenever I watch that scene. Because he's talking about Londo. And he's talking in because Londo was such a complex, deeply flawed character,
Right.
but he's talking about the one time that he's
It's a Jedi. That's his Shakti.
Oh, it's a Jedi.
Got it.
I
Okay.
gotcha. Okay.
Yes. Lita should be a Jedi.
Anyway, Stephen First was his character was talking about the one time Londo saw beauty, and it was really, really amazing. And Stephen just did such an amazing job. So it's always interesting to do something from an amazing actor. You know, when you're asked to do it, it's like, wow, that's talk about intimidating. It's like, okay, I'm just going to butcher this, because you're always thinking about. In that case, like I had to do. In one scene, I had to do with Richard, when Richard Hatch was my acting coach, we had to do A Few Good Men, and I had to do Jack Nicholson. Oh, jeez.
Oh my God.
That's never going to end well for me.
I know. It's really hard to do famous speeches with actors who are stellar. You know, it's really hard.
And the thing is, yeah, and with the thing with that is just try and go in a different direction, because and you know, that's one thing that I learned from acting, and I'd love to get your perspective on it.
Okay.
One of the things that Howard Fine always said was just make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Make a choice and be bold about it, and just go for it, whatever that choice is. And so my girlfriend and I argue all the time about the new Superman movies and Justice League, and she doesn't like the Lex Luthor. You know, Jesse Eisenberg plays Lex Luthor, and I go, you know what? I said, I'm not sure whether I like it or not, but I respect the hell out of Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah,
because that was such a bold choice. That was such a, I mean, and he nailed it. I mean, so anyway,
you just have to. I think you do just have to commit and go for it. Balls out.
Tell us about a role where you had like that you had in your career. Sometime where you're looking in and you're going, oh my God, I've got to go. I got to take a real chance with this. Was there ever a role like that for you? I'm putting you on the spot.
That's okay. I don't mind. It's another really good question. I'm trying to think. I think there was a scene in Babylon 5 that I kind of had gotten into a groove with Lita in a particular way. Lita was not a cheerful character, right? And I mean, Lita never smiled. Finally, Lita smiled in the 5th season when Robin Atkin Downs' character Byron is flirting with her, and she's loving it, you know.
Yeah,
and she finally smiled, and I was like, "Oh my God, I think that's the first time I've smiled in 5 years. That's so weird." But Joe wrote a scene where I get really mad with I'm in with Garibaldi, and I think I was with Dr. Franklin, and I get really mad, and it's comedy, and it was so, because I had done a lot of comedy, especially as a younger actress, but that in Babylon 5 it's like, whoa, this is so weird, and I had to really commit to just knowing that this is funny, but it wasn't funny to me, you know. It was real. So maybe that's a good moment. The other time would be in theater when I was doing I was performing with the Riverside Shakespeare Company. I was Rosalind in As You Like It. And that was huge because I had none of the confidence at all that Rosalind has. And I just had to be this bold, audacious character. That was amazing. Great. It was really fun to put that on for a while.
Who was the funniest guy on set in Babylon 5 or girl on set? Who's you said that Claudia makes you giggle all the time. Oh my God.
She would just she would just look at me and we'd both start going, and the director would be like, oh no, you two, stop looking at each other. All right, Pat, you're off stage. Go. And then the script supervisor is reading my lines off camera because Claudia would not stop laughing.
Oh, God.
But I think Stephen Furst was very, very funny. He, in a very sly way. Walter Koenig, he would, I'm sure all you Star Trek people know that Walter is a practical joker. And I didn't get it. So Walter's character in Babylon 5 and my character bumped into each other quite a few times, right, on Babylon 5. So we were on set together a fair amount. And first of all, he never looked me in the eye. He just liked looking at my cleavage. And the crew loved that. I don't know. He would start, if ever he got a little bored, and we were working on that, oh gosh, what was that Inalienable with Richard Hatch?
Right, yeah.
So Walter started with me on that. He started telling me, oh, Pat, I heard about this thing. And I was like, really, what? And he said, yeah, and this thing happened. I go, really, tell me more. And he'd just draw it out. It would go on for an hour, blah, 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 blah. And by the end of it, I'm like, oh my God, you were pumping me this whole time. I fell for it every time. Drove me nuts.
Oh, God.
And I never suspected him because he would come up, he just had this manner where he would be able, he comes up to you and he's just talking and you respect Walter. He deserves my respect. Yeah. And then he would just take me down this, oh my God.
Oh, sucker. How was it? I really was fascinated by Jerry Doyle's story that he came out of nowhere for Babylon 5. But he was brilliant. Tell us about what it was like working with him. How was he on set and how was, what made him so good at the craft, considering that his background was so different? Talk about left brain, right brain.
Yeah, I think he was just really natural. He's really good at playing himself. Joe wrote him exactly in his wheelhouse. He just was. That's
the way it felt.
Smart ass, he had nothing precious about him. Everything is up for argument. He's happy to take the other side of any argument just for the sake of having an argument. So Bruce and Rick Biggs loved to get into it. And they would just egg each other on. Rick would take any side too. Bruce is very conservative and would have his point of view. And Jerry be like, oh yeah, well, what about? And Rick's going, Jerry's got a point. Bruce has got a point. Jerry's got a point. And the rest of us in the makeup trailer are going, will you shut up? Go away, go outside, go away. Oh my God. Yeah, Jerry was just really, really himself and had a lot of confidence around that.
Great. Oh, by the way, I'm going to make another mention right now that if you're watching on YouTube and there are 179 of you watching on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up button because that all helps the algorithm on YouTube. Yes. So more people will see it. Algorithms
are so important, you guys. And I know that I'm sure you all have heard that you're probably better at it than I am, but and Facebook is getting more and more difficult about this. So the more you like a post, even on Facebook, if you're watching anything that Trek After Dark or any of the other shows and you click like, it only goes so far. You need to click like and comment.
Yes, thank you.
Even if it's just like a happy face in the comments, it all of that makes a difference. Thanks, Michael. I think we answered your question. I hope we did, the Jerry Doyle. I'm just seeing that. And Edmund, my eyes are hazel. They're brown and green. And it depends on how I'm lit, how my eyes look, dark or light. It's a weird thing.
Oh, there's my good friend from New Zealand, Jeff Scott. He says, please come back to Auckland Armageddon Expo.
Oh, I love it. Will you please let Bill get to know you want to see me? All of you who are in New Zealand or watch this, and anybody who goes to conventions, if you want to see your favorite actors at conventions, let the promoters know, because then you say, hey, we want to see the cast from Babylon 5 at the show. And then they know if we bring the cast in, we'll sell tickets. It's all money, guys. It's all about money. So just let them know, and then we can get invited back.
Yep. Oh, look at this. $30 from Damuki. And you don't even say anything. Please ask a question, say a comment, tell Pat how beautiful she is, whatever, something like that. That is, we need. And Michael Weir said, ask a question that we answered already. So,
yes, thank you, Michael. I think we got
that. Okay, John Tesler, another one of our faves. What was it like watching J. Michael Straczynski write the entire third season, something one writer had never done in TV before?
Well, I personally was worried that he was about to die. So I brought in vitamins and shit. I would bring him vitamins. And he told me later he really thought that I was trying to poison him or something. What? You know, I mean, we all were, I think, a little worried about him.
Oh,
personally, that's how I felt. I was a little worried.
Alvin Kerr. Again, Alvin Kerr, your fave. He says, favorite or least favorite memory of Jerry Doyle being a total pain in the ass.
Jerry he couldn't get away with on the set anymore with what he would do on the set on Babylon 5, which was being himself, which is pretty sexist. And, you know, he would just say whatever came to mind. And he always was talking about my tits. And Bruce would just say, Jerry, cut it the fuck out. Stop it. Leave Pat alone. You know,
oh my God.
That's like, I can't do anything about this.
Oh, yeah. God.
But I mean, the other side of that is that you knew that Jerry was Jerry, and you just kind of would go, no.
Richard Ford, who's one of our friends from California, a loyal volunteer of ours. Pat, B5 was a mandatory study break for all of us CMU engineers as new episodes aired each week. Your work gave us a lot of needed escape to manage the stress of the course load. Thank you for your work.
Oh my God. That's so wonderful. I went to CMU. Wow. I didn't know that. What year were you there, Richard? That's amazing.
Yeah, Richard.
I was there 75 to 79. That's when I was there. Yeah, the engineering department and the architect department, they were phenomenally stressed out. I don't know how you guys did it. What I saw another question I was going to try to answer, but anyway, that's very cool. Thanks for letting me know. I wonder if they still do watch Paramount. I know NASA used to put it up on their feed when it was on. Whenever it was on everywhere. They invited Jerry and Bruce down to watch a shuttle launch.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because the science was pretty good, so they really appreciated the fact that Joe did his homework.
God. Do you stay in touch with any of the cast that are still alive?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. I travel with Claudia quite a bit. We go out. We were in France together a year ago and got into a lot of trouble. And Mira, Claudia, we talked to Bruce. We're all we stay in touch. Yeah. It's kind of amazing, you know, it really is amazing.
Right. So you work on Star Trek. Was it was mostly stunt work? I know there were a few times you had a speaking role.
Yes,
you were a Romulan, you were an alien.
I've been just about every alien you can be.
Were you a Klingon?
I was on over 50 episodes of Star Trek, all the Star Trek.
50?
Yeah.
Wow.
And on Star Trek Generations, I doubled both the Klingon sisters, and I was on the Enterprise as a red shirt firing on the Klingon ship, and I was Bator.
Oh, in Generation.
Yeah, in Generations, I was on both bridges. I'm the only person alive who can say that.
Really?
On both bridges, yeah.
By the way, this is our little puppy, itty bitty.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she was the runt of her litter. We fostered a litter of 7 little Chihuahua mixes, and we got to keep the runt. What?
She doesn't look so runty now. She looks really good.
No, yeah, she's gotten big. So she's still probably like 6 pounds. Yeah, Crystal's back. Crystal just had to clean up her little piddle. You remember Crystal?
Yeah, of course. Hi, sweetie. How are you? Nice to see you.
I think the last time we were all together was in the bar next door to, right? Wasn't there a bar next door? We were upstairs in a, what was the name of that? Amalfi? Amalfi, was that right? That was the name of the restaurant, Amalfi. Right. They had that cute little bar upstairs. That was a great little restaurant.
They have a great restaurant next door. It's my favorite combo.
Oh, we ate so many meals. Yeah, with Sci-Fi, we'd eat there all the time before and after and whatever. That was great. So yeah, how you doing, little one? So, what was I see? The puppy made me lose my train of thought. I was we were talking Star Trek. So you were saying, So you were in Star Trek Generations. You were on the Enterprise bridge and the Klingon bridge.
Yes, and I was stunt coordinator the day we crashed the Enterprise. So you can blame that on me.
Really?
Because our stunt coordinator had to go to Las Vegas. He was shooting the scene between Patrick Stewart and Bill Shatner. So I took over for the day.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's a little trivia for you.
Little trivia. Not a very well-known fact.
Wow. Now, and matter of fact, last week we had Tracy Coco on.
Yes, I heard you said that. That's great. I've met Tracy once. Yeah.
You only met her once?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. Okay. She's so funny because someone did a compilation video of all of her stuff from Star Trek.
Yes, I did, Steven. Oh, yeah. I saw that. She showed it at Star Trek Las Vegas.
It's hysterical. It's like she's walking in the background of every scene. Like there's Data and Riker. There's Tracy in the background. There's Beverly and Will in the background. She's like walking in every scene. It's hysterical. Oh my gosh, so many. Boy, you have a lot of love out there because there's a lot of people commenting about how much they love you and love your character.
Thank you so much, guys. It's really sweet.
Greg,
yes, I did double for Gates in Generations. I doubled for her as well. Gates was very supportive. She was very proud of me for being stunt coordinator of the day. I
bet. Well, she didn't crash it. It was that counselor who crashed the Enterprise.
I was never an extra. I was always
right.
I was always stunts. So I'm just responding to some comments. Yeah.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, so an extra is someone who has no lines and no, just typically in the background, right? But a stunt person is often uncredited as a stunt person. That you guys get the. I'm sorry, you guys get the shaft. Stunt people, you guys need your own category at the Oscars.
I think that's part. Yeah, and I'm sure that will happen. I think it will happen. But I think that's kind of part of the magic too. Is I really didn't want. I don't need people to know all that. You know what I mean? I kind of love that there's magic. You don't know how that happened, and you're not paying $20 for a ticket to go to the movies to see Tom Cruise's stunt double. You're paying to see Tom Cruise, right?
Which you do on a lot of, he does so many of his own stunts. He
does. And then when he gets hurt, they have to shut down the whole production for 6 weeks, costing unbelievable amount of money.
In that Mission Impossible where he's hanging on the outside of the airplane, that was like literally him.
It was. I think he was wired. I can't imagine.
He was totally wired in. Right. So you go and wire yourself to an airplane and let it take off. I mean, like.
No, it's crazy pants.
Yeah, that's crazy.
My parents would always say if they could see me, they knew something bad was about to happen on Star Trek.
Monty Daniels, thank you for your $5. Love you, Pat. Love B5 and always look to spot you on Trek. Awesome. Yeah, that you're like Where's Waldo of Star Trek.
Right. Something's going to happen. If you see me, something's going down.
Michael Weir wants to know if there's any new projects.
I'm just doing my thing now, Michael. I'm not pursuing acting. If it happens, that's great. I did a short film, and I met the love of my life again. We actually went to college together at CMU, and he showed up also working on this short film, and we fell madly in love. We've been together ever since. He's my soulmate. I've known you for 45 years. How is this possible?
Wow,
Crazy.
that's awesome. That is
talk
fantastic.
About a turnaround. It's amazing. So I'm doing my adventures, and I'm constantly kind of looking for how I can bring what I hope to bring to the world. And going through what we're going through right now with the pandemic, it's constantly reinventing ourselves, isn't it? Like how can we?
I was just talking with my DP before we got on about like how can we, so we've had a convention the last 2 years for Axanar, and the first year we had it when we finished the bridge set, and it was small, right? But we had 50, 60 people come to the set, and then we did a weekend of panels with another convention. This past year, we didn't have the time to do that, so we just photographed some panels on the bridge one of the weekends we were shooting. But it's gotten us thinking, going, okay, well, San Diego Comic-Con's canceled. Why don't we do something that weekend? Why don't we just virtually, figure out what that is and just do something virtually. So anyway, we're going to figure that out. By the way, Mr. Garibaldi sends you $10 from Beyond.
Yay!
Pat, did you keep any props or costumes from B5?
I have Lita's contract that Bester gave her to sign her body away.
Very cool.
I have a jacket, one of Lita's jackets. But it just looks like any other jacket, because Lita was pretty contemporary in her look. She was just those things.
Nonetheless, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's the contract. So very, very cool. Well, listen, listen, Scott said Lexicon 1 was fabulous. Well, thank you. We're going to talk about doing something special. We got to figure out with this whole coronavirus when it's all going to be over, but we could do everything we can do outside, right? See, so maybe it'll be, we're also doing something else.
Hey, Rob, I don't think Scotland's going to happen in October. I think people need more time to plan. The trips are expensive. You need time to take off work and all of that. But I'll definitely have a calendar ready to go once we get back on our feet and we know how to take care of everyone to be healthy. So the short answer is no, but we will do it.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, and listen, I think, we're already planning to have something ready. So when we can get back in the studio, we hit the ground running. I'm working now with writers and actors trying to get okay, let's do this. It'll be a one-day shoot, and everyone will be ready. And when we get the all clear, we can go and execute it. And small crew. So it's going to be a tough haul here. How is it out in LA? I mean, here in Georgia, we go out, we go shop. Yesterday we went shopping at Walmart with masks and gloves.
Right. You can go to the store, and there are certain things that are open. I'm just like everywhere, I'm sure. I think so California's spiking in cases. So we really need to be careful. And I never get sick, but I don't want to give it to anybody else. We're all just, my son and his girlfriend are here, and me and my partners, 4 of us here. We're just trying to keep sane. Well, we can go out for walks, and I see people bike riding. We all kind of wave, and we wear our masks. Just do what you can do. It is a crazy, crazy time, and we'll just have to see how it sorts out. But
we all need to just be careful and do what we can. So.
Can I ask a real quick question of the group?
Yes, of course. Go for it.
If you guys are interested, I was thinking about doing something. I don't want to. I thought maybe because I like to lead guided meditations, and some of you are close in my community. This, and we do this. But if you're interested, post. I guess where could you could email me at pattallmannewsletter@gmail.com.
Lisa, can you put that in the?
Thank you, sweetie. That'd be great. Thanks, Lisa. And you guys just let me know, and I can sort that. I'll figure that out. And then if you're interested, because I think we need to find some peace, and we need to find some steadiness to get through these days.
Yes.
To make sure we're our best selves. We want to be our best self.
Yep. You know, I think if we all take this time that we're locked in and not look at it as like, oh my God, we've got to stay inside and think about, well, what can we do over the, what can we do over the next 2 months? If we're locked in for what can we do that's going to make our lives better? You know, Crystal said, you're either going to gain 10 pounds or you're going to lose 10 pounds. It's one or the other, right? You're either going to buckle down or you're going to go, what the hell, and eat potato chips and Twinkies.
Yes.
So we can all be, well, listen,
I have
Pat,
some resources too that
go. Oh, here's a.
I have some resources I can share. If you're interested, I will do that on my Facebook page. And just to let everybody know, if you find yourself being spaced out and weird, that the brain does this really amazing thing. When you are anxious and uncertain, and like just what's going on in the world right now, parts of your brain shut down in order for the rest of your body to handle it. So don't blame yourself if you're feeling like I'm so spaced out or I can't get focused or I feel so weird. That's actually really normal. It just means your body's working. So don't worry about it. Just be gentle with yourself. And I'll put up some resources. We'll see if we can get together as a group.
We will, everything from Pat. We will post everything from Pat, and we'll post it not only in the description here on the video, but we'll post it in the Axanar fan group on Facebook. So you'll have all the links and all her emails and her newsletter and all of that stuff. So Jason,
thank you for doing that.
Oh, of course. We want to promote you as much as we can. Jason B says, "Hi, Patricia. Any interesting stories from behind the scenes in Night Riders?" 19.
I know that was the first. We talked about that at the very beginning of our evening tonight, and it was the first time I was ever in front of a camera. I got to be directed by George Romero, and the star of our movie is Ed Harris. I mean, it was an amazing time, and I was really blessed because George let me. I'm this naive little actress girl right out of college, and I would give him suggestions for myself, for my character. I would say, "What if?" And George would actually consider it, and then he'd say, "That's a really good idea. We'll do that." I was like, I had no idea how rare that is. I was very blessed. Very blessed.
Awesome. Cosmic Grandpa, thank you for helping us stay entertained during these trying times. Huge fan of B5 and Patricia, and new subscriber to Axanar Star Trek After Dark. Well, thank you so much, Cosmic Grandpa.
Welcome. Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Well, listen, we're going to definitely do something together. We'll talk about that. I'm going to make sure we share all of your resources with all of our fans so they all have it. Yeah, absolutely. And what we'll do, we'll even send out a newsletter to like our 20,000 plus email list for you.
Wow, that'd be amazing.
Because we're gonna cut this video and re-upload it to this website so it lives as a permanent interview. And we'll put everything in there, but we'll also email everyone and say, hey, go watch this if you didn't see it. And here's all Pat's information.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course, we love you. We whatever we can do, and we'll have to have you back. I'm going to bother you to put me in touch with a couple of your B5 friends to bring them on too.
Sure. Okay.
That would be fun. So, all right. Well, Pat, it's so great seeing you again, and I look forward to chatting again, and after this nonsense, getting together in LA and maybe doing something with our fans. That would be wonderful. So
it would be wonderful. All right, we'll brainstorm.
All right. So good.
Thank you guys, all of you, for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Pat. Thank you, everyone. We will see you all. Now, don't forget, tomorrow night at 9:00 on Axanar Confidential, Pete Dominic is going to be with us from Sirius XM. And so we're really excited about that. But in the meantime.
Wow, that's amazing.
Live long and prosper, everyone. Thank you so much. Patricia.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Take care.